Are we the only living things in the entire universe? The observable universe is about 90 billion light years in diameter. There are at least 100 billion galaxies, each with 100 to 1,000 billion stars. Recently, we've learned that planets are very common too. And there are probably trillions and trillions of habitable planets in the universe, which means there should be lots of opportunity for life to develop and exist, right? But where is it? Shouldn't the universe be teeming with spaceships? Let's take a step back. Even if there are alien civilizations in other galaxies, there's no way we'll ever know about them. Basically, everything outside of our direct galactic neighborhood, the so-called local group, is pretty much out of our reach forever because of the expansion of the universe. Even if we had really fast spaceships, it would literally take billions of years to reach these places, traveling through the emptiest areas in the universe. So let's focus on the Milky Way. The Milky Way is our home galaxy. It consists of up to 400 billion stars. That's a lot of stars. Counting one per second, it would take you 100 lifetimes to count them all. There are about 20
You know what's
billion
crazy? The universe is expanding still today, bruh. It's just growing and growing infinitely.
sun-like stars in the Milky Way, and estimates suggest that a fifth of them have an Earth-sized planet in its habitable zone, the area with conditions that enable life to exist. If only 0.1% of those planets harbored life, there would be 1 million planets with life in the Milky Way. But wait, there's more. The Milky Way is about 13 billion years old. In the beginning, it would not have been a good place for life because things exploded a lot. But after 1 to 2 billion years, the first habitable planets were born. Earth is only 4 billion years old, so there have probably been trillions of chances for life to develop on other planets in the past. If only a single one of them had developed into a space-traveling super...
Look, I have my opinions on this. On Earth, we only know of us. Outside, we don't know who's there. I mean, does it even matter if there's life out there? Because at the end of the day, we all have a purpose, what we have to do. If you're religious, if you're not religious, you have a purpose. So we don't have the time to probably figure out like what life is out there. Maybe one day in the future, someone will figure out how to contact the outside world. But I'm pretty sure they have their own stuff to do. Like, I mean, if we all have one creator, but we are kind of like, if you understand, like, we on Earth are one of God's creations, but we don't know about the others. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for all, who cares? Like, we are humans. To aliens, we would be like something else. We would also be aliens. Maybe they have a different word for that. So I'm not against the idea of there's aliens or something, because the word alien is just something that, like, you know, is not human, or, you know. So I guess it's interesting, but like at the same time, I don't think too much about these things. It will just break your brain.
We would have noticed by now. What would such a civilization look like? There are 3 categories. A Type 1 civilization would be able to access the whole energy available on its planet. In case you're wondering, we're currently around 0.73 on the scale, and we should reach Type 1 sometime in the next couple of hundred years. Type 2 would be a civilization capable of harnessing all of the energy of its home star. This would require some serious science fiction, but it is doable in principle. Concepts like the Dyson sphere, a giant complex surrounding the sun, would be conceivable. Type 3 is a civilization that basically controls its whole galaxy and its energy. An alien race this advanced would probably be godlike to us. But why should we be able to see such an alien civilization in the first place? If we were to build generation spaceships that could sustain a population for around 1,000 years, we could colonize the whole galaxy in 2 million years. Sounds like a long time, but remember, the Milky Way is huge. So if it takes a couple of million years to colonize the entire galaxy, and there are possibly millions, if not billions, of planets that sustain life in the Milky Way, and these other life forms have had considerably more time than we've had, then where are all the aliens? This is the Fermi paradox, and nobody has an answer to it. But we do have some ideas. Let's talk about filters. A filter in this context represents a barrier that is really hard for life to overcome. They come in various degrees of scary. 1, there are great filters, and we have passed them. Maybe it is way harder for complex life to develop than we think. The process allowing life to begin hasn't yet been completely figured out, and the conditions required may be really complicated. Maybe in the past, the universe was way more hostile, and only recently have things cooled down to make complex life possible. This would also mean that we may be unique, or at least one of the first, if not the first, civilization in the entire universe.
That could be true as well, because we don't know if there's life out there. We don't know if we're the only life. You know what I'm saying? That question will never be answered, no matter how much time we spend, because like I said, maybe like there's just some things that aren't as important. Like, you know what I'm saying? The goal, the purpose of us is different. But yeah, it's interesting to hear. Like,
2, there are great filters, and they are ahead of us. This one would be really, really bad. Maybe life on our level exists everywhere in the universe, but it gets destroyed when it reaches a certain point, a point that lies ahead of us. For example, awesome future technology exists, but when activated, it destroys the planet. The last words of every advanced civilization would be, "This new device will solve all of our problems once I push this button." If this is true, then we are closer to the end than the beginning of human existence. Or maybe there is an ancient Type 3 civilization that monitors the universe, and once a civilization is advanced enough, it gets eliminated in an instant. Maybe there is something out there that it would be better not to discover. There is no way for us to know. One final thought, maybe we're alone. Right now,
you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Maze Runner, where they were just raised in this like maze, and like they don't know what's going on in the outside world, and they kind of like in this like sandbox where they can't escape. If they do escape, they learn more about what's in the outside world, and once they actually realize what the point is of them like being like raised the way they were raised, and now the memories were like, you know, wiped and stuff like that. Excuse. So it reminds me of that. Maybe sometimes it's better not knowing what is on the outside, because it might be bad for us, or our minds could not conceive, like we couldn't understand. Like I feel like our brains, we I think we only use a certain amount of a certain percentage and potential of our brains. So it's kind of kept. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, because if you use 100% of your brain, you'll be processing too much information all at once. It could be overwhelming. Example of that, what is that? Gojo. Basically, when you process so much, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he's literally a epiphany of like how a human would be probably if they have 100% of like what they could do.
we have no evidence that there's any life besides us. Nothing. The universe appears to be empty and dead. No one sending us messages, no one answering our calls. We may
Wait,
be
what?
complete.
You said I don't think aliens exist. Yeah, I guess, but you can't prove that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we don't know if there's life out there, and we call them aliens because we don't know. Like, you know, they're not human, or like, you know, that's what the expectation would be, because we're kind of created to live on Earth and only Earth. I mean, Musk was telling people that we can possibly move to Mars. We light years ahead of light years from that, because I mean, his idea of what I could understand is like AI learning how to make spaceships faster, and the faster they can make a spaceship that could possibly take them there, and like, you know, all this information. I know he's ambitious, but someone else would probably, like, you know, take over eventually. And yeah, that's the thing about civilization, or people, humans. We learn and we pass our DNA over, our informations through textbooks and stuff like that. So maybe one day people can live on Mars, and then they would be saying like, but what if we could travel to a next, like a new galaxy and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, like they said, like you keep on like keep creating these bases, but the thing is that the reality is we won't probably like able to do that, at least not in what we understand, like time and all these things. Maybe there's some point where time and all these things, is the normal laws of physics is like, you know, the way we understand and process things, that doesn't apply, which will be different, I guess. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, we kind of are what we have set the rules to, like, you know, to understand. What is making it sound? Okay, next up, let's see.